All right. Welcome everyone to the El Toro La Liga show. It is game week 28 right now, and obviously we are now just about 11 games to go of the season. Obviously, episode 28 talking about La Liga and the upcoming fixtures. It's actually been a pretty okay week for La Liga sides in Europe. It depends, more or less. Obviously, I hope one of them gets knocked out on Wednesday evening, just before the primetime kickoffs. But yeah, obviously, before we get started, please do hit the like button on the stream. Subscribe to the channel if you are new, and actually, I should change the ticker because technically, Charlie's no longer with well, not really on the channel anymore. But I might bring on Charlie at some point in the near future, maybe for like a monthly recap on a specific English club, more or less. But yeah, as I said, hit the like button, subscribe to the channel, and we might as well get started with the game that's happening in a little under 30 minutes, and that is right here. We do have it is Alavés against Villarreal in La Liga. Obviously, Alavés, Villarreal, La Liga. Look, Alavés, in a way, kind of bottled the lead against Valencia last weekend. They ended up losing 3-2 in a emphatic fashion in like the 90th minute. They were 2-1 up and then lost the game 3-2. So Alavés are probably getting themselves into trouble now. Meanwhile, Villarreal, they got a win, I believe so, during the weekend. And obviously, without with them being out of European football, it does help. Plus, considering the at this current moment, the Spanish teams are doing quite well in Europe. Spain, La Liga, we could get the extra Champions League spot 2 seasons in a row. That kind of tells you everything about La Liga and the quality of La Liga, not just in the league itself, but also in Europe. I think La Liga is one of the better leagues, mainly because of the performances in Europe. In terms of win probability, 28% Alavés, 28% draw, 44% Villarreal win. Now, obviously, as I said, Villarreal, they are now 11 points clear of Real Betis. And considering La Liga might get the extra Champions League spot, Villarreal, Atleti, those two, I think, are practically secured. So, do you really think Villarreal are really going to do much for this weekend? You're not sure, because obviously, if they lose, it's not going to be the end of the world, I would say. Meanwhile, for Alavés, if they do lose, it might be like the end of the world. I mean, in terms of how the standings are looking, they are now 4 points behind Girona. So it's practically from 16th to 19th. Levante maybe have a chance, and they are the only team, Levante, in the bottom 5 to have won a game in the last 5. It kind of shows like how shit the bottom 5 are this season at the moment. And Alavés, they have to pick up a win here at home. It is going to be really difficult. But I could see them getting a result here tonight, especially with the lineups you guys can see here. Boye, I think Boye will definitely be a contender for this week, for the El Toro for next week's show. the final one before the international break. But in terms of a prediction for tonight, if I'm going to say Alavés actually get the win. I'm going 2-0 Alavés. I think they can pull off a result here against Villarreal, which is going to be a huge and a massive step towards safety. That's what I would say for Alavés versus Villarreal. The next game we do have here is Girona against Athletic Club. As you guys can see, 35% Girona win, 28% for a draw, 37% Athletic Club win. Now, obviously, now there's a little bit of a chance that 8th place, well, actually, it depends on Real Sociedad and where they finish. Look, Athletic Club are definitely now in the race for Europe, even though they did lose this past weekend, but they have been on a pretty good run of form despite the loss last weekend. Obviously, they are also out of Europe. Girona, one loss in the last 5 ain't too bad. Obviously, they beat Barcelona in that game, as you guys can see in that win. And they are now put a little bit of a buffer. They are just 3 points, actually 6 points clear of the relegation zone. I do think Girona by the end of the season might survive, but it's still a little bit too early to call. But I think Girona might be safe eventually. So yeah, it is going to be interesting to see which team, because they, when you think about Girona, are only 4 points behind Athletic Club, so they're closer to Athletic and Europe than they are to the relegation zone. So it kind of tells you how tight it is in the mid-table. In terms of a prediction, I do think Athletic Club are a little bit more stronger this time around, and I'm going with I'll go with a solitary 1-0 win for Athletic Club. I think they can get the job done. 1-0 Athletic. Meanwhile, here we do have is Atletico Madrid taking on Getafe. Now, Getafe, they just beat Real Madrid not that long ago, and then they followed it up with another win. Meanwhile, Atletico Madrid, beat Tottenham Hotspur on Tuesday. Was it Tuesday? Was it Tuesday or was it Wednesday? I think it was on Tuesday, right? Because it was at during the Newcastle game. Yeah, they did win 5-2 against Tottenham in the Champions League. Then look, there are potential of a remontada, but not with Atletic's game against Spurs on Wednesday. Meanwhile, 61% Atletico win, 25% draw, 14% Getafe win, and it's heavily favored for Atleti to get a result. Though I will say this: will Atleti rotate in this game and make sure they go full strength in the Champions League game against Spurs and continue to power on the misery for Spurs? We'll see. I do think there might be some rotation because Getafe, look, they are in the race for Europe, and Jesus Christ, since the start of, or since like Valentine's Day, Getafe have won 4 of the last 5, including a win against Real Madrid not that long ago, about like 10 days ago. So they've been on good run of form. They've picked up a lot, Getafe, and they might get into Europe. And there's a potential they could get a result here against Atletico Madrid, considering Athletic could just rotate their team to make sure that they beat Spurs even more convincingly. Maybe increase the aggregate score to even reach 10. That's how bad I think Spurs are. So I could see Getafe getting a result, but considering it's away for them this time, though it's not that far. Getafe and Madrid it's in the same place. I'm going for a 1-0 win for Atleti. Just 1-0 is my prediction as it loads. And then tomorrow evening, or no, before the evening, we do have here is Real Oviedo against Valencia, and Valencia have, as I said, a huge home win against Alavés. Meanwhile, Real Oviedo, it looks like their run in La Liga is going to end after 1 year. It seems like 33% win probability for Oviedo, 30% for a draw, 37% for Valencia. So it's quite relatively even between the two sides. Valencia, as you look, 3 wins in the last 4, with that big win against Alavés, the remontada. And now they look like they might get into European football. It just shows us how tight it is to get European football, considering that Spain could almost likely get the extra Champions League spots. So it is going to be really interesting to see how everyone does from now till the end of the season, because it's all to play for every single club now. Either it's relegation or for Europe or for the title, obviously. Oviedo, meanwhile, in terms of safety, they are 8 points from safety, from Elche in 17th. The only thing is they just do not convert their draws into wins. That's the only problem I have with this Asturian club. They just don't convert their draws into wins, and sometimes making those losses into draws, because I'll be honest, they've been a bit underwhelming, Oviedo. Though they could get a result here against Valencia, but I just don't really see it. I'll be honest. I think. Well, I'm already consigned. I already resigned that they are going down. I'm going for a Valencia win. I'm going 2-0 Valencia. I just think they will just be a bit too strong for Oviedo in this one. Next up, and this is a huge one, Real Madrid. They have to get this. It is Real Madrid against Elche. And same thing actually for Elche. They have to get something here. In terms of win probability, 73% Real Madrid win, 16% for a draw, 11% Elche win. But as I said, those 2 losses Real Madrid had kind of hampering them, but obviously they did get a late win away at Celta Vigo, thankfully, and kind of keep their title hopes alive. Otherwise, they would have been 6 points behind. But they are 4 points behind Barcelona in La Liga, and they have to win this game. I do have to say that, considering that they almost cost themselves a result or a win against Celta last Friday. Meanwhile, for Elche, they are down here in 17th. They are a point above the relegation zone, with Mallorca chasing them. It is going to be really tough now. I do think Elche are in big trouble, even though they are in a okay-ish spot. But considering this fixture, I do think Real Madrid do get the win here. Unfortunately, do. So I'm going for a 3-0 Real Madrid win. I think they'll build on the confidence from that win against Manchester City. That's what I think. As for the next game, we do have here, it's Mallorca against Espanyol. Espanyol still have yet to pick up a single win this year, 2026. Mallorca, obviously under the new manager, Martin de Michaelis, former Manchester City and all that, got a draw. Should have won that game, actually, Mallorca. So there is a little bit of confidence brewing at Mallorca, and they could survive here now. 41% Mallorca win, 30% for a draw, and 29% Espanyol win. Espanyol first in 7th, incredibly still 7th. They've been in the European places for a long time, but now every single team is chasing them. Everyone is chasing Espanyol. So Espanyol could end up. They started 2026 in like the top 4, I believe, and then they're going to probably end the season more likely nearer to the relegation zone than they are to Europe, just considering the form. There've been so many draws for Espanyol that I just don't know when they are going to get a fucking win. That's the only thing. Meanwhile, as I said, Mallorca, they are in the relegation zone, but I think with the change of manager, I think it could help them. I really do. I think they could potentially survive. That's what I think. I think they could now survive. I think the change of manager, I think I can trust Dim Michaelis to get what's required for Mallorca to survive. So I'm going with, is it a surprise? I'm going for a Mallorca win. I'm going 2-1 Mallorca. I think they can get the job done against Espanyol, who have yet to win this year. And the next game, it is Barcelona against Sevilla. And before I do, let me get to the comments. Big up to um, Dan Davenport. Pochettino used to manage Espanyol. Yeah, that was before he went to Southampton. And then obviously Spurs. And obviously we now know what is happening at Spurs. And yeah, they did in 2001 or 2001, 2002. Because I know 2000, Deportivo La Coruña won. But yeah, obviously the next game here we have it is Barcelona against Sevilla. Huge game this one, obviously for the title race. Barcelona they have to get a win to continue their 4 point gap or even make it more. Who knows? And obviously Barcelona they have that Newcastle game which I will be doing a watch along for on Wednesday. So this is a little bit of a watch for me, kind of seeing how this goes. And obviously, the reverse fixture was actually a Sevilla 4-1 win at Pizjuan. So maybe a bit of revenge from Barcelona. 76% win probability for Barcelona, 14% for draw, and only 10% Sevilla win. Barcelona, 67 points, top of La Liga at the moment, capitalizing on Real Madrid's 2 losses in back-to-back weekends. Meanwhile, Sevilla they are becoming drawing FC, but I think they survive by the end of the season. But I just think Barcelona might be a bit too strong for them. And obviously, this is a game just before the Newcastle game, so there's a lot to kind of focus on. But I do think Barcelona do get a win. I'm going 2-0 Barcelona to kind of build their confidence, but we'll see. I'm going 2-0 Barcelona. That'll be my prediction. Next up, it is a Europa League clash. The two teams fighting for that Europa League football. It is Real Betis against Celta Vigo. Yeah, he did back in the early days. Obviously, Betis lost, unfortunately, against Panathinaikos. Coincidentally, Rafa Benitez manages them. Meanwhile, Celta Vigo, they drew 1-1 at home against Leon. So there's a potential, yeah, long time ago, 2005. There's a potential that both of these teams get eliminated from Europe in the Europa League by the end of this week. And that obviously won't be good for either team. So it is going to be difficult. So now maybe there's a focus for Champions League football. But if both teams get knocked out, might hurt. So yeah, we'll see. But obviously, Betis do play at home in this one. 43% win probability for Real Betis, 29% for a draw, and 28% for Celta Vigo. 5th against 6th, as I said. The two teams at the moment holding the Europa League places. Could potentially 5th place could be Champions League football. So that's the big cause now for both sides that they could get into the Champions League by the end of the season, which would be massive, hopefully for Betis. But yeah, I do think that this will be a close affair. I think both teams are also having one eye on the Europa League and try to progress. I will say nothing separates the two, and I'm going for a 1-1 draw. I think both teams will have an eye on that Europa League in the Europa League games on the 19th of March. That's my prediction. And then next up, Sunday night, it is Real Sociedad against Osasuna. Not really a derby, but you could kind of say it's a bit of a derby. Both teams competing to get into Europe. Real Sociedad have 2 chances. They have the Copa del Rey and the league itself. Win probability 50% Real Sociedad, 27% for a draw, and 23% Osasuna win. Obviously, Real Sociedad did play Atletico Madrid last weekend, which was kind of like a rehearsal for that Copa del Rey game, and they lost 3-2. So hopefully it will be as exciting as the league game suggests. But obviously, Sociedad, or if you want to think that Spanish clubs have that extra spot, it does. I think Sociedad are in a very good position right now. And if they win the Copa del Rey, because a lot of people are going to say Atletico will win it, But in the off chance that Real Sociedad, because they have won it more recently than Atleti, there's a huge chance that Real Sociedad could get in, could still, literally, they could steal a Europa League place from somebody, and they could end the season whatever they feel like, because they have Europa League football, potentially Champions League football if they can catch up to Betis. Who knows? But at the moment, I think it will be too much for Sociedad. Um, but look, they have an opportunity to bounce back against Osasuna, who are just a point behind them. So it will be tough. Both teams on and off, more or less. But I do think Real Sociedad can get a result here at home towards the build-up. This is now the build-up for the Copa del Rey for Real Sociedad. So I'm going for a 2-1 win for them. I think they can get the job done at home. And then the final game on the Monday, we do have here, it is Levante against, Levante away at Rayo Vallecano, who were in Turkey. So they travel all the way from Madrid to Trabzonspor, if that was the team they played. And they got a 3-1 win away. So a huge result. So Rayo Vallecano could be a contender to win the Conference League, which also does help the Spain coefficient for the extra Champions League spots. And if they win it, they get Europa League football, Rayo Vallecano. So that would be a big one. In terms of win probability, 56% Rayo Vallecano win, 25% for a draw, and only 19% Levante win. And as I said, both teams are near the bottom, but Rayo unbeaten in La Liga somehow. I don't know how, but they are. Obviously got a big win against Oviedo before they got that draw during the weekend. And obviously traveled to Turkey, got the win. Looks like they're going to progress considering they are at home in the game on this upcoming Thursday. So look, a huge opportunity. And Rayo, when you think about it, they are only really like 4, maybe even just 6 points from European football again. So they have a huge opportunity. And they could just win it from the Conference League as well. So they have a golden opportunity as well. Levante, meanwhile, I'll say it is not looking good, but they have picked up 4 points in the last 2 games. So maybe that's a little bit of an inspiration for them. But I do think that Rayo Vallecano can get a good result here. Prepare for that game against Trabzonspor on Thursday. So I'm actually going for a 2-1 win for Rayo Vallecano for this game. So let me just transition here. So now it is time for the El Toro de la Semana, the best player of the week. Obviously, the one that had the best weekend and all that. And the name I'm going to give it to, he scored a hat-trick against Manchester City. He also scored the last-minute winner at Celta Vigo, so really good week for a former Deportivista, Federico Valverde. He is the El Toro de la Semana, the best player of the week. Obviously getting a huge result for Real Madrid in both games, for both the League and Champions League. So really good for Federico Valverde, who is the El Toro de la Semana. So now it is time for the Segunda recap. Let me just transition here. And also, I think I have to readjust this one as well. I forgot to change it up here. And the speed as well. Let me go to the chat. Big up to Bright Hair. I'll just call you Bright. Are you Filipino? Yes, I am. But I live in Spain. Vivo en España. Yo soy de Filipinos. You love the Spanish, huh? But yeah, the Segunda, obviously, this past weekend we had the game week 29. So last Friday, and obviously there is a current game happening now. Cardiff are actually playing So, but actually, Zaragoza beat Cadiz 1-0 last weekend. Sociedad B got a big win against Castellon. So Castellon are kind of slowing down a bit in terms of their automatic promotion push. 0-0 between Huesca and Albacete. Burgos got a 2-0 win against Mirandes. Mirandes, I think, got down. Malaga 3, Valladolid 3. Last minute goal for Valladolid, so that helped them. Las Palmas 4, Ceuta 0. Huge win. I think that killed off Ceuta's chances of playoffs, even though there is still a chance. Andorra with a 1-0 win against Sporting Gijón. Eibar a 1-0 win away at Leganes. And then probably the game of the weekend, and it always happens with them, Racing Club Santander 4, Cordoba 3 in the game of the weekend. Deportivo 0, Granada 2. Not great, obviously. We lost. And I think that we had to win this game to really put some pressure on a team like Almeria, who got 3-0 win against Leonesa. I think I said at the start of the season, Deportivo to get playoff. So we're in the playoffs, so I shouldn't complain, but golden opportunity wasted to get into the playoff picture, or well, not the automatic promotion, because of the results, Santander have really helped themselves with their huge win against Cordoba. As you guys can see, that's happening in Game Week 30, so about 13 games or so to go for everyone. Cadiz for 2-0 up after 30 minutes against Mirandes. No surprise, I'll be honest, even though Cadiz have been on a bad run of form, but Mirandes ain't good at all. And then we have Leonesa against Santander. Could they concede 4 goals? Who knows? That should be a Santander win. We'll find out. Valladolid against Leganes. Both teams relegated from La Liga last season. Zaragoza against Almeria. I'm hoping Zaragoza somehow pick up form and beat Almeria. This one we have to win. Deportivo against Ceuta. I'm predicting us to win, considering we have the best away record, but we'll see. Cordoba taking on Sociedad B on the Sunday. And then at that time as well, or a little bit later, is Granada against Andorra, Malaga against Huesca. You have Eibar against Burgos, Sporting Gijón against Castellon. So a huge game in the automatic promotion for Castellon and Gijón trying to get the playoffs. And finally on Monday, you have Albacete against Las Palmas with Game Week 31 to come. So yeah, in terms of the league table, I'll try to get it up. Right, so the top 6 is the automatic promotion and all that. No, I'm not full Filipino, but I am Filipino. But yeah, so here is the current top 6. The top 2 get automatic promotion. So at the moment, it is Racing Club and Almeria. I do think now Racing Club are going to get promoted. I think there's still tight between probably among these 5, I would say. Burgos kind of catching up now with their win. Malaga kind of dropped off with that draw against Valladolid. But yeah, it's Racing Club and Almeria in the top 2. Castellon, Deportivo, La Coruña, Las Palmas, Malaga from 3rd to 6th place. And then catching up, you have Burgos, you have Ceuta, Gijón, Eibar. They've been the teams that are trying to catch the promotion, but I think it will be tough for any of those teams. Cordoba, bad run of form. Andorra, now picking up form. Cadiz currently winning, and also been on bad form as well, or winning, and probably getting themselves up the table. Sociedad B, somehow, well, they can't really get promoted anyway, so it's not really going to matter. Albacete, not in a good run of form now after having a pretty good run from like January, actually, but not been on a good winning form at all. Granada beat Depor, so you then obviously had Leganes at one point maybe picking up form, but now they've kind of dropped off. Valladolid in 18th, and then the current bottom four. So the bottom four get relegated. Huesca on 31, so they are the closest to potentially drag any of these teams to the relegation zone. Leonesa, Zaragoza, both on 27, and Mirandes, I think, are cut adrift, and they're losing right now, so it makes it even worse for them. So yeah, not good for any team in the relegation zone. It seems like. But let me just copy that. But yeah, that is basically it for the El Toro La Liga show. Obviously, talking about La Liga game week 28, as we are now approaching the end, or at least the business end to the season, with the Copa del Rey final happening on the 18th. We then obviously have more games coming up in the Champions League, if all the Spanish clubs go far. Hopefully not Barcelona, but we'll see. But yeah, obviously it's been a good show. Had a few people on, a couple people on. But yeah, until then, I will see you guys. The most likely time might be either Sunday or Monday, kind of reviewing or previewing Newcastle's games for the Champions League. If the 18th, we'll find out. Obviously, I'm doing a watch long for the second leg of Barcelona against Newcastle United on Wednesday evening. So yeah, until then, I will see you guys in the next one. And Newcastle United, I hope, will win the Champions League. We'll find out. Peace.